your purpose and your money will almost never align. Super Bowl ads are really good because we could do better in this country in terms of advertising in sports.
It's been a crazy year.
I hear you, but I have 100,000. Okay, we'll talk after.
Rumor has it you worked on, is it One with ZD4?
Yes,
And your Maglerado boy,
Yes.
you worked on that video.
Yes.
What were you doing?
I love ChatGPT. First of all, you guys must give ChatGPT a raise. He's the hardest working employee. My mom is Namibian. My dad is British, but I was born in South Africa. What I've come to realize this year is that living itself is purpose. Creatives also all want to feel good about themselves. We did a Back to the City after movie for Hennessy as well. That was amazing. I feel like editors just need more. They need more recognition in the industry. As a creative director, graphic designer friends, don't watch this.
Welcome to the Millennials Corner, where most of us are lost in the trends. Yes, sir. Why did you to? Welcome back to another episode of TMC Podcast. I'm very excited for this episode, not because it's December or not because of the Chelsea, who's like a creative powerhouse, but because it's the last episode of the year, like a bittersweet moment. You know what I mean? It's been a crazy year, and I just wanted to take, this moment to say thank you to everybody who's watched, who's liked, who's shared. We absolutely appreciate the support. But yeah, if you seeing us for the first time, we are TMC, a brainchild of some super cool millennials who love to talk about technology, creativity, with a sprinkle of everything else in between. So yeah, if you're joining us for the first time, please do us a solid and hit the subscribe button. And we'll keep doing what we do best and bring you the content. So we thought, while we were busy doing the pre-production for this episode, how can we really end it with a bang, And we were like, okay, sharp. Let's try to find the most amazing creative director in our circle. And then somebody was like, guys, I know somebody super, super dope. I get Chelsea. Chelsea, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. That was a super hype intro. Now I feel like I must also just... And I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Trying times, man. I think I'm sweaty though, because I've been doing like a lot of up and down.
No, you look good. Look good. City boys.
So just a little bit about Chelsea. Right? Chelsea is a creative director at RTC Studios. So they actually specialize in like your photographies and video.
Photography, videography, a little bit of TV commercials. Basically just production in a nutshell.
By the way, I love your work, girl.
Thank you.
At least that's it. Her journey at Umuzi, where she did like your production of digital content production. As a learner, she has went on to really work on some really amazing brands and put together some really, really inspiring pieces of content out there. So yeah, we're going to learn a lot more about that on this episode. So yeah, I hope by the end of it, there is something really for you that you can learn that you will apply in real life if, you aspire to be a creative like herself. So yeah, man, how are you feeling good?
Feeling good, feeling calm. It's a Sunday, so relaxing times.
Amazing. So yeah, we usually, culture, we love like things that, like relates to culture, and we have one of our own. We actually like to play an icebreaker before we get started.
Okay.
Yeah. So this game is called underrated or overrated.
Okay.
I'm sure you are familiar with it.
No.
Okay, so how we play this game, we'll give you a phrase, usually like a word, but we'll pick like anything at all, in the universe, and then ask you that, is it overrated
or underrated?
Right.
Okay.
And then in just maybe one line or shorter than a paragraph, you tell us why you chose your answer.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, let's get started. But first, Papa, say that and get pumile. I'm sweaty. Yeah, nobody's telling.
Tell them you need budget.
It's going to be a debrief after.
Excuse me, Jill. Get you a makeup artist.
Sit.
I looked at.
Yeah. That looks better, right?
Yeah, way better.
So we do flushes.
Hey, man.
The aircon is not working. It's not us.
So yeah, that's done. So a little bit about this game, right? It was helped put together by Roy Manitu.
Oh.
Right? Yeah, so Roy Manitu is actually a range of effervescence wine. Effervescence wine. So they actually specialize in those, or they sell wines basically. So but if you want to learn more about what they do, or maybe you want to try out their wines, please check the QR code on the screen, and hopefully you'll find something that you vibe with. Yes, sir. Boy, why did you do that?
Yeah, cheers.
Yes, sir.
Since we
Yes, sir. I need to. Gotta pay the bills, man. Sure. The first one that I have here is teamwork.
Both underrated.
Okay.
Underrated. The reason I say overrated is because there should always be a leader, but underrated because overrated because there should always be a leader and everyone should know their role. But underrated because if there's no collaboration, it doesn't work.
Absolutely.
So vote.
Okay. Because this is the last episode, I will allow you.
Okay, please give me one on the side.
But please try to pick a side as much as you can. Okay. Yeah. All right. Social media.
Overrated.
Tell me more.
It's easy. Social media is just a pattern. It's just a formula. And once you get it, you get it. Which means that if anyone really gets it, they can make it. Which means it doesn't really reflect what's happening on the ground. It doesn't reflect what's actually popular, what's good, especially good, and what's not. It's because it's all just like the metrics, the numbers. A cloud game, essentially. So very overrated.
Cloud game.
Really?
Christmas.
This one is also tricky. Christmas is underrated.
Tell me more.
It's underrated because there's so many opportunities to like spend with each other, and we spend it so much on drinking. And like we curate this lifestyle that's like, I need to have the best new this, the best new that. And like we really miss the idea of it should be an off time. And I mean, even businesses now, like, we haven't closed for the year. Yeah, like people don't understand that it should be a time with family. So very underrated.
What's culture? So, I mean, just to unpick it just a little bit, like most creatives actually are in the game and they work so hard so they can get awards. So like, is this awards culture overrated or underrated in your opinion?
Before I give my answer, I'll just give you some context, not in a paragraph, but I think that there's a business side of creativity, and then there's the actual craft. So for awards, makes sense. I would say it is overrated, right? On the business side of things, because also everyone is just trying to make money. And we all know that business deals go to who you know, not really, what you're doing. So yeah, that would be my answer. But what I'm saying, there is a craft part that's really focused on the creativity. And then there is the part that's just the business. And awards essentially also just the business.
Using humor in advertising?
Underrated.
Okay.
Underrated. Like I'm not a comedian, but I love to like add bits of humor in anything that I write or come up with, just so that it really appeals to people, especially in South Africa, because our audience is extremely humorous. And I think like when global brands come in and they even try to appeal to us as an audience, it's so difficult for them because the nuances in our humor is also just like so like niched that you have to be in culture and you have to understand people from all angles to really get like what that texture is. So underrated.
I mean, that was like a very light tone to say we are trans, actually.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like 100. But I think it's also, if you think about like our history, right? It's layered with so much trauma. It's layered with so much like even success itself, right? Like we've got these two extremes. We've got the two extremes of wealth as well. So when you have these extremes, there's so many things to find funny. Like you can go and like you'll find a white person speaking vernac. Like it can be funny, right? And that's really how you like pull out the humor in that way. So finding those like sweet spots in between is really what makes us the people. So yes, we clowns, but also we just like, we know how to get past things, if that makes sense.
You actually touched on something very deep, like when you spoke about our past traumas, and I think I'm just gonna pin that for later in the conversation.
Okay.
Audiobooks.
Yeah. Overrated.
Okay.
You zone out. Like, and I actually listen to those things. Like, I've listened to 2 audiobooks and I remember maybe 2 sentences from them. Because even with music, you zone out. Like, it's just generally if someone's speaking, or even if you're talking with friends and you guys are talking too long and there's no like conversational part, you zoning out. Whereas like with a book, you are forced to be like, I did not get that. Let me go back.
But because this is your stage, I have a rather like conflicting idea, but it's fine. I'm just going to keep it to myself.
Okay, we'll talk after.
Okay, I have here fireworks. You know how it's...
Fireworks. Underrated.
Okay.
Yeah, I love them. They're so pretty.
Right.
They're very pretty.
See them at Chris Brown. It's a solid.
Ah.
I mean, if you went today...
I was unwell and I had tickets.
Oh, you didn't go?
Yes, I was unwell and I had tickets. Front row. Oh.
But even if you didn't go, it feels like you were there because of how people were really making noise about it.
Yes, that's true.
Vision boards?
Underrated because, I mean, even like being a creative director, like my job is basically mood boards. So we make mood boards for everything, right? And obviously you don't like go exactly to the plan most of the time, but I think it's underrated because we tend to sometimes forget to set a tone for our life. When you sort of have a tone, it's easy to check in with yourself constantly. When everything is just in your mind, you're always overthinking, and it's nice to focus on one thing for the year. Like if you want to find love, right. Focus on your love. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Let's hear that, man. The Super Bowl adds culture.
Oh, love it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, definitely underrated. Like, I think what's so good about them is like, especially, I mean, we were talking about this award season as well. If you think of creativity, right? Like they being craft and they being advertising. Super Bowl ads are really good because it ties in culture, and something as sports is very patriotic and it's something that really speaks to people. We could do better in this country in terms of advertising in sports. We're trying. I know that folks are like Gaten is trying to lay some foundation, but they do it so well where they know how to pick the right talent, how to say the right thing, but like it's just consumerism like packaged so well, which is really nice.
But this I'm not going to leave for later because it will be irrelevant, right? You touched on Gaten McKenzie as a creative, right? What do you think about him as, a minister who came in and everybody's so excited because he's so energetic and he says the things that would relate to and we want to hear. Do you think that, like what's your actually take on him?
I think he's interesting. Like you said, I like his passion. I like his what do you call it? Decisiveness, if that makes sense. I just hope that his decisiveness goes in the right direction. And absolute power corrupts, but absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Are you optimistic about his reign?
I am. I know he's like, I've seen a couple of tenders. It's looking quite positive for the community and that people itself. And, just not focused on, say, sports or focused on sending people but like overall, like eventing, music, as well as like all types of sports and cultural activities that we really need to dive more into, because if we can create these connects between these multidisciplinary art forms, I think there's much more opportunity for job creation, which is a big issue in this country.
See, the last one I got here is Canva as a design tool.
You want me to be cancelled online as a creative director. Graphic designer friends, don't watch this. Underrated, completely underrated. I use Illustrator, I use Photoshop sometimes, but it's just so Like, it doesn't work with your lifestyle, especially with me, because I've had some opportunities I've mostly worked remotely. Like, I've worked remotely for like 3 years. So sometimes you'll be in a coffee shop. Now, next thing, you must open Photoshop. Like, it's just the drama. You can just connect to the internet. Sometimes when a client wants a change on something, I'm not saying do everything on Canva. Hear me out. Like, there's certain things, like, if it's Mang's invitation, you can do it on Canva. But if you're going to do client work, like, properly do it on Illustrator. But there's certain things that you can create assets and then import them into Canva. Because then, like, even like easy background removing things. Like, I love AI. I love ChatGPT. First of all, you guys must give ChatGPT a raise.
ChatGPT.
He's the hardest working employee. So yeah, definitely love Canva. It's just so easy to use and it just makes sense.
I love Canva, by the way.
Just whisper.
Okay, thank you so much for doing that with us. But Faith, so this is how we come to the end of underrated or overrated. I hope you enjoyed it.
It was very cool. I might be on the edge on some, but it's fine. I made my decisions.
We can start over.
I know. Let's get into it.
For you right now, with the work that you are kind of doing, do you feel like you are living your purpose?
Interesting question. I think to a big degree, like, we place too much importance on that. The older I've gotten, and I've been fortunate enough to have worked with a lot of mentors who have sort of like gone the purpose route and some that have gone the business route. And the one thing that's a mentor of mine, his name is Gabriel Lavelle, and he owns like properties and...
Oh, shout out, Gabriel.
He's from America, but like he opened a boutique hotel here and was doing some marketing, creative stuff for him. And interesting enough, he said to me that your purpose and your money will almost never align, right? And it kind of made me sad for a while. And then like becoming a creative director, getting into production, because I was previously I was a lot in marketing and publications and that sort of magazine lifestyle, and getting from that and coming into a place where, I'm getting into film, which I've always wanted to do, focusing on production, getting more into that. And like, that thing where you like get to what you want and then you're like,
I thought there was more to this.
Exactly. And there is definitely more to everything that you're going to experience in life. But what I've come to realize this year is that living itself is purpose. And that has brought me so much closer to what I do. Because, like, if you think about living is an act of creation. When you wake up in the morning, you're starting a new day. Whatever happens in that day is something that you've created, which also brings me to the fact that, like, everyone is creative. And everyone can really tap into those parts. It's just like finding yourself in a space where you are paying attention, because everything is really about awareness. So when we talk about purpose and how I really found this awareness of, am I living my purpose? I do say yes, because it doesn't matter what I'll be doing. Tomorrow I can decide to become an accountant, or, I've always wanted to be a pathologist. Right, but I couldn't study for 13 years. But, I could decide to be there tomorrow and it will still be my purpose, because I'm still living in the act of creation. I'm still looking forward to tomorrow. But when you're so focused on the today part, I'm going to work, is it really my purpose? Like, don't be focused on that. Just like live in. So yes, I am. 7, that's a bit young, hey?
Yeah, I mean, if a 7-year-old can understand it, then I think...
we're okay. Let me think. Creative director. My first initial point would probably be like a mood board maker.
Yeah.
But essentially, the creative director solves problems, right? Creative problems. So in a business and employment or career path, businesses would give you a problem. Oh, look, like customers are not buying, my washing powder anymore because there's another washing powder. It all encompasses looking, why are they not buying this washing powder? Who buys this washing powder still, and who buys the other one? And it's really looking at that opportunity for a problem to be solved, or what is the actual problem, before you even go into solution mode, is really focusing on, people are not buying a washing powder because, sunlight is pink. Omo is many multiple colors. It looks like a soccer ball. Why are they not buying? Why are they more appealed to the flowers than they are to the patterns, right? So looking at those things and then saying, okay, cool. So what is our solution here? Client says to you, or the person, the business with the problem says to you, look, I only have 100,000. I hear you, but I have 100,000. Then you're like, yo, okay, what is the lowest hanging fruit to immediately change people's perception to solve your problem? And sometimes as a creative director, you also find new problems. So people, because what tends to happen is, especially in our industry, is that there's so many layers of problem solvers. By the time it gets to you, people have identified the wrong problem. So you find a business analyst will do will look at a problem and then they'll define a job to be done. And then an agency would look at a problem and they'll define what they think the creative should be. But when it comes to production, which is sad that it's at the end of the value chain, but it's such an important place to be as well, because then you're ready to connect with the people. Now, because an agency would come to you and be like, I want to use 5 models in these races, or I want to shoot outside. And you're like, okay, but that does not appeal to the people. So in a nutshell, it's really taking person to problem and finding that solution. So yeah, it's a lot of awareness. My job is actually a lot of awareness.
Okay, amazing. I love to hear that. So when you explain it to somebody as smart as you are, what would you say that is? Now it's a 7-year these things. Yeah.
As smart as I am, I don't know, my second IQ test. I would say that I will still say it's a problem solver. To be very honest, like it's just a problem solver that provides creative solutions.
Now that we know that you like your perspective around, like peppers and life in itself, the work that you do, I think let's track back just a little bit and let's learn a little bit more let's get to know you. Who is Chelsea? Where are you from? Where were you born? The kind of, stuff that you drew inspiration from while you were growing up, schools you went to. Yeah.
It's a complex question.
There's a lot of questions.
Yes, and it's a complex question, especially from where you're from or how you grew up, because my mom is Namibian.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, my dad is British, but I was born in South Africa.
Okay.
So, there's already 3 countries involved here. And then I grew up in South Africa until I was about 10. And then we moved to Namibia. So I stayed there for about 5 years. At least Namibia's culture is quite similar to here. And I came back and I finished high school here. I have also been to 5 schools. So I'm used to making new friends, used to speaking to new people, used to restarting. When I came to South Africa, I was very focused. So I've sort of always known what I want to do. It was very weird because I was a 11, 12-year-old telling people I want to be the Devil Wears Prada, right, from the movie. I wanted to be Meryl Streep.
Which one is that? That was so inspired.
With Meryl Streep, she's essentially like an editor of a magazine.
Okay, Asisi, please, you'll find me the picture. Then we'll do it in post.
Yeah, so I've always wanted, I watched that movie when I was 11 and I immediately wanted to be her. A little difficult because I'm very nice and she's very bossy, right? So I still struggle with that in my own career. And I'm every time I channel, I said, hey, please, we need to be Meryl Streep here. But so I wanted to be a fashion editor, since I was 11. And kids were like, oh, I want to be an accountant. I said, accountant? I was if anything, I'm going to be a business person, And then I went a little bit to a private school. So I've been all over. I've been to a super white school. I've been to a very hood colored school for a few years. And then I went to an integrated private school. Then I came to South Africa. I went to Littleton Manor, which was also just on a different side. They're also very focused on economics and accounting and that sort of thing. And then I went to Pro Arte, which is a art specialized school. So, and then at that point, I had to choose between dance and art. Very sad that I couldn't become a ballerina, but here we are now. So then I started specializing in design from grade 10. So really when people ask me, how long have I been a creative director or been in the industry or whatever? And I'm I've been focused on briefs since grade 10 because because we had a very hectic teacher as well. So as much as it's design in high school, it's like, if your drawing was ugly, she would tear it up. And she'll tell you you're going to work at ShopRite. The pressure from not working at ShopRite was on us all the time. And she's like, do you want to drive a Ferrari or work at ShopRite? You're like, yo, let me sketch. And we used to do like 2 to 3 drawings a week. And projects, and obviously like we learned a lot about like the business of design and that sort of thing. And then afterwards I went to Tux. I really wanted to study fashion. They said to me it's not sustainable, so I went to Tux and I did information design, which was also amazing. Did about a year of that before I decided, yo, this is very expensive in my life. But we were drawing live models. We were learning about lighting from photography. We designed a board game, like strategy in terms of art and crafts as well. Like it was just all encompassing, which is, if anyone wants to go and do a degree like that, I would encourage it, just because if you think about information design, everything that you see is a piece of information.
Yeah.
No street signs, toothbrushes, toothpaste, like everything is that sort of design, from the marketing to all the way through to the actual product design.
And then we found a picture. I hate this, does not interact this.
IT.
You found this picture? Yeah, so what was happening? This is actually the first picture on your IG page.
There's a couple. So when I was at Umuzi, I loved yellow. And people...
Was this during summer?
Yes, people always said yellow looks very nice and bright and happy on me, and like it fits my... At some point I had yellow braids. I went down all the way to the path. Yeah, that was during my time at Umuzi. Yeah. Interesting time for myself creatively as well, just because I was away from home, because I was living that side as well. Yeah, and I just decided to be those people, because I was apparently also into Instagram and, focused. Now I'm not that much, but back then I was curating, and then I had a feed designed and drama.
Love to hear that, but so I think we just looked at that picture. You were younger then, so a lot has changed since. Which I think it was very relevant to the question our previous guest left for you. You didn't know that, by the way. Yeah, our previous guest left the question for you. So the question is, if you had to mentor yourself when you were younger, what would you have done differently as a mentor?
For myself?
Yeah.
Or told myself, encouraged myself?
Yeah. So this is like 2 yous.
Yes.
Yeah, the younger one, and you are the mentor to your younger self. So how would you kind of have done? What would you have
done differently?
Yeah.
I would tell myself it doesn't matter what everyone else says. Because the more I get into this industry, I realize the most successful people are people that didn't listen to anyone else. Like, I'd just be more like Kanye. I'd literally take Kanye's videos and tell myself to watch it and just be that person. Because you won't necessarily become that person, but I think there's a lot of value that we leave behind. And I think it's also because, sometimes our parents don't believe in us being creatives. So they keep trying to put you in a box. I would just keep saying, no, not this box, a bigger box. So yeah, that would be it.
One of the other things that I wanted to touch on, really, while we're still talking about the younger you, was the kind of stuff that you actually drew inspiration from, right? Right now you're creative director, but you probably saw it somewhere outside school, or maybe from someone, actually. So who would you say are those people you kind of drew inspiration from, and what kind of work were they doing to inspire you?
I've actually never had a person to look up to.
Oh, you're your own inspiration.
Yeah, not that cocky, but I hear you. I think that, like I said, I think my biggest inspiration really in terms of creative direction for myself was Devil Wears Prada, just because I hadn't seen anyone in South Africa really do and be what I thought to be. Like, even right now, the things that I intend to do are nothing within my role, if that makes sense. So it was always a thing where my mom's a graphic designer, by the way, and my dad's like a pastry chef. So they were really creative and they are creative. But so I was like visiting my mom because she worked for a newspaper, visiting while she's there on Coral Draw. I was like, I never want to do this. And now I use design so much. I'm so annoyed.
So when they say, when did the creative bug beat you? Like, I'm the bug that.
Yeah, kind of a little bit, but I've always been a person that likes storytelling, talking, as well as also just like creating. Like when I was younger, I used to try to remember fairy tales from memory. Like I'd rewrite Snow White for some reason. I don't know why I was rewriting Snow White, but I also really like I said, I wanted to be a pathologist at some point. When I'm like, okay, either or, if I'm going to be serious, let me be serious in this way. But I've always just been curious. So other people saw the creative in me before because they'd ask me for help on things. And I'm like, oh, why don't you just do it? Because I'd always just come with solutions. So yeah, I've never really had a specific person or mentor to look up to.
Okay. Rumor has it you worked on, is it One with Ziggy for
Yes,
and your Maglera boy?
Yes.
You worked on that video.
Yes.
What were you doing?
Okay, so I actually work quite
I was
closely
so
with.
impressed when that's for beginners because I'm such a big fan of the, creative direction on that video is just like out of this world.
Thank
DOP, like the editing in it. It's so amazing, man.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, I actually work quite closely with Never Broke, the label. So I'm also part of the management team with them. So, like, obviously, the song itself existed before everyone knew the video. The song blew up on TikTok from Cape Town with Ziggy. So that was Ziggy's first song.
That was basically a remix, right?
Yes, that was a remix of that song. So we had been working on, when I say we, it was me with Never Broke, or just like talking about cool things we can do with the video. And then Nav was like, oh, don't you want to do this video? I spoke to the team at RTC and they were happy to help. So the people on that project was basically RTC, the whole entire production by RTC. But specifically with this video is that if you've listened to Ziggy's music, and Ziggy is an artist, because I'm also very much about the subject, like you need to focus on who you're talking about in their world. He obviously comes from Cape Town, and a lot of his music, even the first music video was like shot in the Cape Flats. So I really wanted to encompass this idea of, his new album is also called Gangsta Baby. Like this full concept of him as a brand as Gangsta Baby. What does that mean? But also at the same time bring in the nuances of, what is loyalty? What is it being the top boy? I also came out of a period in time when I was watching Top Boy and The Sopranos. I had just finished The Sopranos. So that entire treatment is actually Sopranos based.
I see that first opening scene from the graveyard.
That's the Sopranos, and the storyline is, I don't know if you picked that up, but the storyline is Maglera co-signs Ziggy, he gets promoted as top boy, then someone snitches, the snitches then get shot, obviously conceptually, right? That's why they're throwing the roses. It's someone they love, but at the same time, it's someone that snitched on them. I really wanted to imitate all the storytelling that I loved so much in The Sopranos, because as much as it's about the mob, it's really about themes of loyalty, themes of love, themes of survival, themes of hustle and ambition that I wanted to capture, because it also speaks a lot to Ziggy's project. So, and yeah, having Pretty there as well. It was so nice just from a conceptual point of view, because when you think of the mob, you also think of Pretty and Maglera and Ziggy's 3 generations of hip hop.
Yeah.
10 years in the game, 5 years in the game, just came in the game. So I wanted to imitate that cycle of rotation as well.
I kind of like how Maglera is in the middle.
Yeah.
Because there's this gangster child.
Yes.
And there's this, the guy was been in the game for quite some time, but he's soft. Maglera feels like a combination of both, So yeah, I think it was I thought perhaps you did see that while you were putting it together. But now when I'm watching a music video, And the sequencing of those, the different verses, I feel like it was like just like a great like sequencing, you know, where you have that hymn starts Siggy and then Maclera in the middle and then like end it with a lighter note. But otherwise, it's amazing, man. Tell me more about other dope projects that you've worked on.
Really cool project we just worked on, which was super. You saw the LeBron and Maclera.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it was the was it not Doritos, it was not Mattel.
Him and Hennessy.
Yeah, Hennessy, right?
Hennessy, yeah.
I saw that on Instagram and I was like, oh my boy.
So that was a very cool project as well. Interesting enough, we were pitching against a couple of production companies, and then I storyboarded it. It was way more extravagant than you saw there. Like, it was way, and then they're like,
So you have like a 10-star.
yes.
The real
But not,
basic.
we brought it down, not because like it was just too much or too expensive. It was just, and I realized why. That's why I love working with clients that know their brand. Oh my goodness, because another client that really knows their brand, I think, is Jägermeister. But people, like clients who know their brand, who know their product, who know their service, it was a very extravagant treatment. And they were just like, simplify it, love the idea. But when you can get them to really like sign on board in terms of the big idea or your dramatic creativity. And I mean, I think all creative directors need to learn to calm down a bit. We all need to. But we just want to tell stories. And then they were like, you know, it is a simple product. Like, it's a product that speaks to premium luxury and it's not loud.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, cool. Actually, that makes a lot of sense. So a lot of the stuff that I wanted to include in it, we refined down to just like subtle hints. Like you'll see in the video, we actually shot on a basketball court.
Yeah.
You'll see on the video that the basketball court is at the back. It's like it's framed that way specifically, just so it nuances back to LeBron and the game itself. You know, it's just, you don't see it. And then it's also, if you go look at the KV for LeBron, it's a very similar setup, but it's obviously changed to be African because we still need to speak to Maclera. And even the location that we shot, it's supposed to imitate the chateau where they actually shot LeBron's content, but like just fit within the brand world in that way. But yeah, exciting project that I worked on. What else? Recently, I've been working on quite a few stuff. Views was exciting.
Views,
yeah.
I worked together with C on Views.
Yes, exciting stuff. Really enjoyed working on that with her. We did a Back to the City After movie for Hennessy as well. That was amazing. Had lots of drones and a lot of like, as much as, because we're also in photography and videography at RTC, we tend to work on a lot of events content as well. Also, because I feel like we've perfected the event side of things. In general, just like we're really trying to up our content every time. So on this particular content piece, we didn't just want to do like, you know, an after movie. We wanted to actually like bring in the lifestyle. So there was a lot in the treatment that spoke to just what's the energy we want to capture, what is the brand cues we want to capture, as well as just, you know, bringing in like how do we transition from day to night. You know, all these things need to be considered. It's sad that, you know, not everyone can afford a creative director on like these projects, but like it helps the team as well. Because if you think about it, like on smaller projects, someone is the creative director.
For sure.
If it's the photographer, he's creative directing himself. If it's the videographer, he's creative directing himself. Even, you know, just the person doing the lighting, they have to come up with an idea. And the bigger you scale projects, it's really nice when everyone can just really focus on their role. Because you can really see how the team, like I said, teamwork is very underrated, but also overrated. It's really good when the team is so focused on what they want to do well, that but when you get to the point where everyone is just focused on that one thing, cool, you are doing lighting, you know, you really see how they just add on to the idea because they're not under the pressure of just coming up with the idea. you know? Like I said, I want blue lighting, for instance, and I want the lighting to look like this. You'd find that I've seen it so many times on set. Now, next thing, he's adding like a little bit of a motivational light under the seat, for instance. And like all of these things just like create these beautiful cinematic scenes.
Yeah.
But it's when everyone is focused on their roles. That's why movies look so good.
Absolutely. Like I remember I was just talking to Veja the other day. Vedi Pash, I'm sure you know.
Yes.
Yes, every clash was so dope, right? So Veja was actually talking about how when you're on set, when everybody is focused on their role, on, you know, like doing the best work that they know, the product becomes like something out of this world. Because like, for instance, if you are in lighting, you don't necessarily need to be stressed about now creative directing. Yours is to improve the creative director's ideas as somebody who's well-versed in lighting. You know? Because like also if you don't have a creative director on set, it's like you basically have many creative directors, right? So you have the creative directors, like you said, in DOP.
Now you're fighting each other.
You get what I mean? So it's like, yeah, like too many visions in one product, that definitely doesn't work. So what I'm saying here, guys, is if you can afford a creative director, please, man, do yourself a favor. Yeah, and also I see a lot of our younger self who are watching, and I'm like, fuck, I would love to become a creative director. How did you break into the game?
It's actually so how I became a creative director is, so I've been shooting editorials since like Umuzi days, really, even before that, like really just like focusing on shooting editorials, working with photographers. And when I was at Umuzi, obviously we did like the film and TV production, and I just never liked the technical part. I don't want to learn the triangle. I don't want to know. It's not my problem. Like even now, like they shout at me at work, I'm like, you know, these are not my things, because focus on your things, I'll focus on my things. And so at some point I tried photography, at some point I tried videography, then I really fell in love with post-production and the editing part of things, because that's really where the story comes together. I feel like editors just need more recognition in the industry, because like they put everything together, like especially if there's no pre-production and there's no storyboard or planning, editors are basically your directors, because they put together the tone, the texture, everything of the actual end product. And then my first job, like proper creative job, I was actually a writer for a fashion magazine. And then I went to Umuzi, and then my job after that, I became an art director and stylist for The Throne.
Oh, The Throne that was on Zanzibar?
No, I don't know, I think it's died down a little bit now, but the magazine.
Still plays.
No, the magazine, yeah. It was like a digital publication, but at that time it was really like getting it onto its feet. They did covers with Sarah Langa, Kefi Boo, all those things. That's actually a cover that I styled. Very exciting times.
Sorry, the one you throw on your Instagram?
I think it might be there. The two of them, yeah. I think there's a picture of it there. And then, yeah, so I got into that. Then I was also doing the magazine layout for them. And since then I went a little bit into marketing. But
I also touched on tech, right? Or is it recent?
Yes. That's the marketing I went into. So I was a digital marketer for a tech startup, and we were building an app for logistics, but specifically focused on small businesses. I've actually always mostly worked for startups, which has been very good in my career growth. And I say good, not from, because obviously if I worked in corporate, I could have just climbed the ladder much faster. But I think specifically because there's not a thing you can go to school for creative direction, that it was good for me to work in startups, because I experienced problems from the roots. Like I would experience like what are like financial problems in a business look like, what are sales problems looking like, what are marketing problems looking like, and what are marketing problems from all angles looking like, you know?
Yeah.
And what is like business problems in a magazine versus a tech startup look like, or post that, I also worked a little bit for an international agency where we managed big like creative influencers. So Sam Calder, Chelsea Pitt, who the people shooting your DJI profile pictures, you know? So like experiencing creativity and business problems from their side as well as these big creatives. I think that itself was my schooling. So if you want to become a creative director, do everything.
Yeah, for sure.
I've done makeup on sets. I've catered on sets. I have, you always end up being a producer at some point also. I've been a proper producer also. I've been, what else? What's the craziest thing? I've done hair. I have some hair credits. Hear me out. I've done hair. I've styled. I've art directed. I've done graphics. So when I'm sitting back and I'm thinking, especially from a solution and problems point of view, it's when I'm thinking of crafting a treatment and I have 100,000 rand, I know exactly how much money the art department can get or not get, you know. But I don't start with treatments that way. Usually in the way that we do it at RTC is we start with a big idea and then cost on it, and then we'll bring it down depending on what client is. But we'll always have a big idea and a small idea and then scale it like this. But yeah, producers can be our ops in life. But they're always saying to you, there's no money.
All the time.
But it's good. It's been interesting. I think that a lot of creatives and people who want to become creative directors should think about the money aspect. Like, find out how much things cost. Find out how much the camera cost. Find out really how you can make your ideas better, because someone needs to pay for it.
So you spoke about working for startups, you know, for the most of your career. For somebody who's starting out, would you say it's better to work for a startup or a corporate, especially like somebody who wants to become an entrepreneur later?
I work for a startup. You're going to cry about the money, but it's literally a school of life, you know? Like, I always want to be an entrepreneur. Like, doesn't matter at what point in time. Like, I don't see myself, depending on how much Google pays, but I might work for Google, right? But I'll always end up having a business. And I think that depending on what sort of creative you want to be, if you want to work on big brands, do the agency thing, because it will give you access. But if you want to really make a difference, you know, I would say work in startups, build something and find that cross between the two. Because once you have solidified that integration between a startup world and a corporate world, and you get to a point where you're so creative and well respected from a startup perspective, that corporates have to give you the money. You know that you've achieved what you need to achieve in that field.
What are the lessons that you had to kind of like learn at an early stage of your career?
Let me think. What lessons? There's a lot to learn, hey. I had to learn that a big part of my role is leadership, which I didn't think it was. And the reason I struggled with leadership, because I've always necessarily been a leader in groups. Like, I've been part of the prefects at high school, where I was class captain. I was always that person. But what I had to learn in terms of leadership when it comes to creativity and my role itself is that creatives also all want to feel good about themselves, and they don't want to feel like that everything is so bureaucratic, right? They want to feel like I have freedom, but I'm also in charge. And so a big part of my role is also affirmation. It's like, oh, you're doing so great. Oh, you're doing so well. So it's leadership in that way. But still at the same time, like, you need to convince everyone that your idea is the best idea, you know? Because if you're on set and like, or you come up with the treatment and people just like, okay, yeah, no, okay, we're shooting this thing. It's like, and that's something that I was so excited to practice, but also experience with my team at RTC is I literally had to tell that story so many times and excite everyone. Even till today, like everyone plays Hona wherever we are. Because it was just an exciting time that we went to go see the locations. We went to see just really how everything came together. The team was really excited. Also, everyone wants an opportunity to grow. So if you were DOP, if you were director, if you were this or that, you want an opportunity to also just add your 2 cents.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a big thing that I had to learn, that my way is not always the way. Like, when I get on set, I think we were shooting on Friday and we got there and I really wanted to shoot by the stairs, but the stairs were reflective. So we had to shift the entire location. And I was so sad, but I had to listen.
Yeah.
I had to listen and I had to say, okay, cool. You know what? I need to listen to the situation. They know better. And I'm like, oh, cool. I'll take your guidance on it. You know?
Have you always been like that? Like, have you been, right? Do you always take feedback well? Do you always take it well when your idea is not the best idea?
I mean, I still throw tantrums in my mind, but I think it depends on what the feedback comes as. Because if you just say to me, because I try to think of everything, like every possible thing does it speak to. But if I get feedback, like that's what I'm saying, I love working with clients that know their brands. If you come to me, you say to me, look, this is not going to work because we speak specifically to the fact that we want consumers to feel motivated. And I'm going in and my treatment, I am like expressing anxiety or this. It doesn't really speak to that target audience. And then I can be like, okay, cool. I will be annoyed that I have to do this again. But I haven't always been this way. I've learned to become this way quite a bit just because I realized that a big part of my job is also feedback.
Yeah.
Sure. It's also like saying, and the more I've learned to deliver that better, the more I learn to also take it a little bit better.
I see. I think for somebody who creates, the worst feedback that you can ever get is, I just don't feel it.
Make it pop.
Those kind of feedback. How do you ensure as a leader and as somebody who understands that creatives want to feel good about themselves, how do you ensure that when you critique someone's work or give them feedback, it's in a way that builds them as well, that and does not destroy them, basically?
So weekly, actually, I do this thing every week or second week, we do this thing at work that I lead everyone in this workshop, we call Creative Brainstorm. Just because I'm the only creative director and most of the team also works on a lot of other projects. So we also in the back end need to constantly keep coming up with ideas. So I sit with the team because I think a very important thing, and most people tend to miss this, is that everyone has something valuable to say. So I want to hear what the team has to say. I want to hear where their mind is at, what they're sort of feeling, so that our work as a collective reflects us and not just me. Because I didn't grow up in a certain way. Someone else might have, and they might have more feedback on that. So that's why we also do dry runs in the office to see how everyone is responding to the work. And with this brainstorm, we did something funny where we all had to come up with a campaign and then we had to give yes and feedback. And it's actually one of the hardest things to do.
We give yes and feedback.
Yes. So if you are yes and you are bolder, but if you are no because you are negative, but you are giving reasoning, so you're also bolding, but you're still negative. Still fits in the negative. And if you're a no, I don't agree, you just completely negative and you ruin the spirit of creativity. So we're trying to get everyone to be a yes ander. Okay. So I personally have also adopted that quite a bit. Before I was a little bit critical and I did get feedback that, what just don't you like? I said, okay. I am the problem here, and also if you hear things about yourself a couple of times, you sit back and be like, okay, maybe I am the problem.
Because I think the yes and the no but, it almost feels like the same person. One is more polite. The other one is kind of I don't hit around the bush, just tell it as it is.
Yes.
Because in essence, when you're saying no and, or when you're saying no but, or when you say yes and, it's the similar thing, where you say, I probably see where you're going with this, but can we
But that's
a little bit of something.
that's the thing. If you think about it, the conversation, you said more polite, but think about when you say no because, right? You're creating problems. You come with no solutions.
Yes, for sure. Okay.
Yes, and is yes. Okay, cool. You said I want to do for this brand. I'm gonna do a marathon, for instance. Like, oh yes, and you know what? We should sponsor them with shoes. And then the idea doesn't have to exist. And I think this is something I actually learned at Umuzi quite early on. Is we used to do a lot of human-centered design, and it was focused on why is it. Because when you just come up with an idea in a team in general, it's always you'll give an idea and you already feel anxious about giving your idea. And then someone else is like, you already shut down as a creative. Yeah. But when you say, cool, we have to create a campaign for Dragon, the energy drink, right, for instance. I'm like, cool, let's get animated dragons. Let's collaborate with Game of Thrones. And then they're going to fly in and, someone is like, oh, Game of Thrones. Now you've already ruined my momentum. Maybe cool, it's not Game of Thrones. Maybe you do a throwback episode with Takalani Sesame and then you make fake dragons there. Like, you can always scale an idea, right? But if you shut down creativity from the very beginning, there's nowhere to go.
There's basically one who sees opportunity and another who sees obstacles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's so important to cultivate a spirit of anything is possible, because anything is possible. We always say in the office, anything is possible as long as Hennessy is involved.
So now that we know what it takes really to become a creative director, the kind of obstacles that you're most likely to encounter, if you decide to jump into this career, what would you say are the, maybe this you've even touched on, but if we were to kind of condense it, what would you say are the skills, both soft and hard skills, that are required for somebody to really win as a creative director?
Okay, part 2. Yeah, I think that some of the skills, number 1 is leadership. Definitely need to work a lot on that. Secondly, people skills. Like, the majority of your time is convincing, firstly, people of ideas, but also asking people to execute those ideas. So people skills is a big one. Budgeting. I'm actually reminded of something Rick Rubin says. He's like, because he's also a creative director, and then they're like, they ask him, what do you do if you have no technical ability? And he's like, the utmost belief in my ideas. As you can really makes me laugh. But yeah, in terms of the question itself, let me not off ramp. I think also budgeting and definitely some sort of art background. So whether it's in actual fashion or if it's in a little bit of music, maybe you're a musician yourself, maybe you just essentially need to have a core of creativity.
Yeah.
If you're a graphic designer, if you are art director, if you're a stylist, if you just a photographer, essentially some sort of art nucleus, and then the rest follow after that. Because if you think about it, even a photographer can become a creative director, because it's essentially just honing in on the pre-production and everything that happens before the execution.
Absolutely. Yeah. But they're also very much involved in post-production, right?
Yes. Actually, we're involved all the time.
All the time.
Even on set, because things always change on set. What you thought would happen never happens. So it's you need someone there to say, no, yes, maybe, cool, okay.
I know this is not about me, right?
No, right? It's about us. So,
but I think I learned a lot of skills that I needed to make it as a creative from Umuz, and there's quite a lot of shift in perspective and how I used to see the world when I got into that space. It felt like a totally different world because it was so different for me from all the spaces that I've been in before. I mean, you can only imagine I was doing industrial engineering back at UJ before I actually, pivoted into creatives. And I think hunger got me into the creative space. And when I got into Umuzi, it felt like maybe this is your opportunity to make something of your life, one last opportunity. So I couldn't fuck it up. But also I felt as though the environment was everything that somebody who feels like they've hit rock bottom, or somebody who feels like they need guidance to move further in their career need. You know what I mean? So for you, how has that journey been? Because we know that you started at Umuzi. How would you say Umuzi has changed how you see the world, and also in terms of like compelling you to go further in your career? What role did they play?
I think, I know we spoke about this off camera early on, but when I was at Umuzi, I was 20. Yeah. So everyone in my cohort was older than me.
Yeah.
Like
The last born.
yeah, I was literally the last born, and it was a little hard. I'm not gonna lie. I did love this space. I did love the collaboration. I also love that like they really focused on, because, and I'm sure you also experienced this, like when we did our projects and built our portfolio, essentially, like you would come to work and then they're like, oh yeah, guys, go shoot a mini movie now. You're like, okay, today I'm shooting a movie. Or like, you'd get there and then they would like, did you guys also have product groups?
Yeah, we did have product groups. So we would actually switch mostly. So usually that maybe some, especially when we were working on different products. So we would have short films, and then they would pick people.
Oh, so you would then switch around.
Podcast, and then they would switch teams. So it was basically they would actually basically give us a theme, and then we would come up with product.
I see. Okay, so we had to audition for a team. And you had to then basically like an interview to go, I think I'm good for this role because... So I had to choose between it was also a podcast, the podcast like short form sort of like commentary group, the short film one, because I sort of got into all of them, but it was just where I wanted to go. But I ended up with a digital product. So we had a blog called, I forgot its name, Ntwembu or something like that.
Oh.
Yes, that one. So we had that product group, and then I essentially became like a producer of that group. And it was interesting because it's not in film and TV production, but it is because it's short form sort of like blog content, that sort of thing. So we did some cool projects there. I think that the nice thing and the biggest thing that I sort of shaped me from that actual experience is that sort of propelled me into really going into a publication like The Throne, and also being able to really just like conceptualize short form content even now, just understanding that, everything needs to tie in from a PR perspective, because essentially we were trying to be a PR blog. Yeah. So tie in from a PR perspective. Also that, a lot of the people that I worked with, because I was on the production side and on the producer sort of is that I needed to ask writers to write something, and I needed to ask, the graphic designer to design something that fits to the content piece that we're creating. We did was one project, we did like a social experiment of being on Instagram and being off Instagram, and then we had like a live Instagram exhibition in Maboneng where people had to come and interact on us as people by putting like fake likes on you. Tell me about yourself. Does everyone do it on Instagram? So like coming up with content pieces like that really are right now, and the opportunities I have now, it also really taught me how to work in a team. And how, as much as we all did maybe film and TV production, you find I'm writing, someone else is, directing, or someone else is shooting, someone else is editing.
Wasn't it stressful though?
No, I had so much fun. I had the best time ever. Like, it was just joyous. We're always doing something. I like busyness, and even at work, because I think like when you get into an office space, when you tend to become very complacent. No one wants. That's why we do creative brainstorm. I'll show you afterwards. But like there's this little content piece we did. It was like a remake of The Office.
Oh, okay.
So like I always trying to like.
It's like your John Dunda.
Yes. We did like a mini 1 minute. Exactly, a mini minute. And like I love competition. That's what I also loved about Umuzi is like there was always as much as it wasn't like toxic competition, but it's always like, nah, bro, I need to produce something really dope because they're going to have a showcase about it. So I think that positive competition was also installed in me. It was a good way to practice it as well.
Yeah. I think if there's one of the most important lessons that I took away from my experience there was working with what you have.
Yes.
It's just agility.
Yes. The prototype phase.
You know what I mean? They're like, guys, we are here. This is all we got. Let's make some magic, and that is a very underrated skill, man, being agile and like having what it takes to actually do with what you got. That is very underrated. And I have found myself to apply it everywhere I go. Like, it's a needed skill. I'm sure for you also. On certified, like, guys, the light now is coming from the north and we thought it was going to come from the south.
Yes, exactly.
How do we move now,
Exactly. And it's like also sitting back and thinking to yourself is like, why not?
For sure.
It's like everyone wants to come with a problem, but why? Like, what's the actual problem here?
Who are the people that made your experience worthwhile?
Definitely Clayton. Like, I've even been to Clayton's house for Christmas. Like, I love Clayton. Also, just because he was so energetic. Like, everything he did was just like, yes, guys. Also, he was our product team lead. So, like, he was very encouraging. Even up to now, he's also very much an entrepreneur at heart. So, definitely Clayton. You?
I think for me, it has to be Fecha and Pat, right? Because I think they are the people I saw myself in, and them having been at Umuzi and like really doing such dope work and really being inspirational with how they carry themselves, like around people and how smart they actually weigh. I think I took a lot of inspiration from them. It has to be them for sure. For sure, it has to be them.
Let me think. I think also besides like our product managers, I really enjoyed working with, what is it called? Do you know Urban Boutique? We go out into the street, and then like the episode that I worked on with them was the Minority Report. So we went to go like interview all the Nyaupe boys and find out where they buy it and like how recycling works as like a currency, and I was really inspired by that team specifically. X was on it, Kate, Atu was on it, and Jabu. And I was really inspired by that team because they would come up, because you should check it out, but it's essentially a show.
Yeah.
It's like SNL, South Africa mini, So there's funny parts, there's like skits, there's all these different things. And that sort of writing takes a lot of work.
Putting together documentaries is...
It is a lot of work, and they did one every second week or so. So like very intense. And so I was really inspired by that team and what they did. Obviously, then there's my team, which is really great. There's a girl I worked with, also Tanji. So Tanji also did part of Umuzi's social media. She went on then to be the editor of Hypebeast Africa. She's doing amazing stuff right now as well. Very cool. So a couple of people that, from my peers as well, that just did like amazing stuff.
Yeah. But I'm sure you agree, being creative is very taxing. Mentally is draining, especially if you work with clients that really don't get it, So how do you, in those kind of like spaces where you have to still prioritize high performance, how do you still kind of like prioritize your mental health? Because like I strongly believe that creativity comes from a place of ease and peace and serenity. So how do you summon that serenity in your head?
I actually work well under panic. But I sometimes cause my own panic unnecessarily. But also it's just, when you're creative and you have to, especially when you come up with ideas, is that it tends to be everything of your life. And I tend to try to not think about what I need to do until I need to do it. Otherwise, I'll be working the whole day.
Oh, for sure.
And that's not what I want to be doing. Like, I want to work my 9 to 5 and go home. So sometimes I intentionally don't think about work. Like, I just don't think about it. Like, I think about many other things. Even if I'm at work, I think about many other things because I also need ideas to sit with me. And then I just watch lots of TV. Like a lot of my ideas would be like something that I just sit back and really think about. I need to think about something else to come up with an idea for something else. So that's really how I get into it. And I sometimes tend to make myself overly emotional so I can empathize. Because through empathy, you get to what the real problem is. Because if you can't empathize with the problem, you're just coming up with a paced over answer or a paced over solution for something, you know. It's like you really need to empathize with the problem to tap into culture, to tap into, you know, hurt, pain. And obviously we're not on the negative side of things, but even just the pure joy of, like, before I started going to the club, I didn't get, why are people always in the club? And then I'm like, okay, you know what, let me go to a club.
So I can experience it.
And then I'm like, let me go to the sick in the club. Then I'm like, okay, I get why Don Julio is Don Julio, because, you know, you're going to act the Julio. So you need to know where you're finding these like moments of celebration, and you can't really express those things if you don't experience them. So try to experience everything as much as possible. So like I said in the beginning, when you asked me living your purpose, just live, like, just go on living. Like, I think also I used to struggle a lot with my mental health, but I stopped struggling when I learned that, you know, we tend to think that the solution is awareness, but then we become overly aware. And over-awareness comes with self-judgment. This is actually what my tattoo means. But if you're overly aware and you're self-judging, that's when your depression really happens. But awareness is just a state of being. It's just the now. And as creators, and especially when you're thinking of ideas for tomorrow, because you need to think about, I'm launching a campaign in June and it needs to align with, okay, cool, Youth Day. What does Youth Day mean? Now you're back in the past. You're in the pain of the past of Youth Day, but you're in the future of the motivation, but you are here right now. I don't know, I just sit back. I'm like, I think I need ice cream, you know?
Yeah. But do you think that as much as mental health is important, do you think it can also be like a weapon formed against your success?
Yes, 100%. 100%. That's why I think also like having a support system is so important. Like I said, if I would tell my younger self what to do, is like, don't put yourself in a box, just be Kanye. And I think, you know, Kanye also has mental health issues. And I think it's also, he sort of, after his mom's passing, started internalizing what others said about him, because his support system was always solid. It was always, you amazing, you great, you doing well. And we need that positive reinforcement, not from creatives, but from our loved ones. And I think if we can get them to understand that, then it would also culture a better space for us in terms of mental health, of like, maybe I just don't need the therapy. Yes, granted, everyone should go to therapy.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. I am
Please.
advocate for, please go to therapy.
Oh, yeah. But like, find a positive way to talk about your feelings with someone and then come back, because we just think that our parents don't understand us, they don't understand us, but it's also because we don't know how to articulate those feelings. And sometimes it's not even a feeling thing, sometimes it's articulating your boundaries. And recently also with people in my life, I've come to have to communicate that I don't like your criticism. I don't need this. I get criticized all the time. If you are not in my life without criticism, then don't be in it, you know. And my mental health has improved significantly since then. It's just understanding what you're trying to communicate.
Yeah. As it pertains to like mental health and understanding what you need to do, who would you say like in your life really has been like that person who was you know, like a support in the journey? You know, like you knew that you could always, like, when shit hits the fan, or you feel like, okay, right now I need to speak to someone, maybe you didn't necessarily go to therapy, but in your life, who would you say was that one person?
I did go to therapy, because also it doesn't matter who you speak to, there's biases from their part, because parents will always be parents, you know. I've been quite close with my aunt, and she's sort of like helped me and guided me and supported me through it. But yeah, parents will be parents. So I think there's been a lot of people, and I have really good friends and really interesting friends. So I've also learned that we shouldn't trauma dump on people. Like, you should just go to therapy, deal with it.
Trauma dump. You're teaching me a lot of new words today.
Yeah, you shouldn't trauma dump on people. Try to go to therapy and then articulate what your problem is. And then realize what the solution is. Come up with a solution. Then communicate the solution. Don't just always complain. I know we like to sort of, what is the word? What is the word when you...
Anyway, use the word, guys, when you're doing what?
When you with self-pity.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you shouldn't like find yourself in self-pity because you'd never really like solve the problem.
Okay.
And I love that's what therapy actually taught me. It's like you can solve it. No one else is going to solve your problems. Not even your therapist. Only you can solve your problems. But it's the mindset around it. And even if you get on like medication or something, if it's to that extent, it's like even that medication itself, it's to find a baseline of what normal looks like. Because most people who are living in mental health, they have no recollection of what normal looks like. Because you're either living in anxiety or living in depression or living in anger or living in all these different things. But if you can redefine a baseline for yourself, you have a comparison.
And I think
and then manage it.
I think the underlying, basis for what you're saying right now is like once you understand how to articulate your problem, you understand it better, then you can find relevant solutions towards it. And I think like bottom line, that's what therapy helps you to do. Like you say, a therapist is not going to solve your problems, but you need to come up with your own solutions and like just solutions to your own problems. Yeah. So speaking of like solutions to problems, digital came in, felt like a problem to traditional marketing, right? And traditional advertising. How, with your work today, how would you say you have kind of like taken the two and kind of like fused them to become relevant today? So basically, like, how do you, like, what were the main differences between the two, and how did you like,
I think that the biggest thing is, especially with us new creatives, is that we tend to think that traditional advertising doesn't work. You're still going to go to Pick and Pay and you're still going to find yourself looking at the price and there's going to be a special and you want to buy the special. That's advertising, like at the end of the day. And I think that if we as creatives, and how I've also come to know this, because when I go home to Namibia, or I go to a small town and I come back here, like the differences in advertising is so different. Like I can't even find a spa that side to book my mom a place to go and do her nails or whatever. You have to be there. And it's so interesting to me to see those differences and how connected to the people advertised traditional media is when it comes to advertising compared to how it is from a digital perspective. Because if you think in a digital perspective, you are actually only thinking for that small little group, which means it can't grow. And I think in South Africa as a whole, and small businesses, and the problem, and even with the agency that I had started previously with a couple of friends of mine, is that we were really also just trying to solve how do you provide above the line solutions, or that quality of above the line, to small businesses in a below the line way, because there is so much barrier to entry for small businesses because they can't afford that sort of advertising. But it's not supposed to be that way. And if you think about really good small businesses that start, they always start with the people. They always start with word of mouth. They always start with pamphlets. They always start. And as creative new millennial business owners, we think, okay, cool, I'm going to start and then I'm going to have a social media page, and then your product fails because you forgot what traditional media means, what the people mean, and how to combine those two. And you can still have a viral marketing campaign like We're Broke, right? They've done so well because they understood what traditional media and advertising looks like first, then applied it to a digital context and a conversational context. And then you can still create your videos. You can still create your lookbooks, your photos, your brand, your apparel, but it will encompass what marketing in itself looks like. That's why you can't just get rid of the one or the other.
Absolutely. Love to hear that. So what's next for you? You've done so much dope work, and like, what are you looking for? Like, really, I'm not saying this for show. Please, So what's next for you? Because it like right now it feels like you've hit the ceiling. Does it feel like that?
No, it doesn't. I've actually been directing I was directing Fridays. I've been directing quite recently instead of just like creative directing. So actually directing. It's also been a journey. Next, I actually really want to write a series. Like I actually have a series. Conceptualized, but I actually really want to get into writing, which is something that I learned at Umuzi or was first introduced to it. And I want to carry that across and just go into long form content because I think that is really where you can tell stories. Like advertising is all fun and games, it pays bills, but like at the end of the day, it's still focused on consumerism and it's still focused on products and sales. It just drains the life out of you at some point. You can make it fun for yourself, but like, sometimes you want to talk about you can hear me out. You can you can do whatever you want to do within the context that you are. But I just really want to tell a story of coming of age from my perspective that I don't feel I have to find the right brand for. And I don't think that I want to make it a brand thing. I want to make it a holistic story.
We're rooting for you to make it happen, man. I know you will.
I think.
So since the last guest left a question for you, which I think you answered very beautifully, will you please do the same for our next guest?
Wow. I'm putting me under pressure now. Question. Ooh. I don't want to make it. I want to make it like on the side there. What book has most changed your life?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. I love that. So, Bafethu, that is how we come to the end of this episode. But before we actually finish it, or close it rather, score, you can look at that camera and tell the guys, hey guys, my name is Chelsea and I'm a blah, 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 blah. Thank you so much. Please remind them to subscribe
okay, yes. Hi guys, my name is Chelsea. I'm a creative director. Thank you for watching the episode. Please like and subscribe and make sure you tune in for more and see the pressure on the next guest,
It's heavy.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for doing this with us. Absolutely inspiring. So yeah, Bafethu, this is how we come to the end of it. Like I said, it's the last episode of 2024. Just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And yeah, we hope that next year we're going to come up with we're going to come back fresh, excited, new vibes. So yeah, in the comment section, please let us know what is it that you would like to see us do differently there next coming season. But yeah, this year was a good year and it couldn't have been possible without everybody. Matimi, we have 6 Kada behind that camera. We have Umuzi who's making sure we have the dope guests here and putting together the pre-production work. We have Mungi, our ops manager type vibes, and also the reason why we are this well fed. She is the reason we well fed, taking care of us like really well. We have Kate. Kate actually just joined us for the first time today. She wanted to shadow because she's also looking into doing something similar for herself. We have B. B is not a regular here, but his contribution is immense when he is available. Like you can tell even from looking at the episodes that B was there. No, maybe B was not there. So yeah, it's been. Then there's myself, and other guys that that are not here today. Vitor, who does also DOP. We have Hasla. Hasla does our set design. But yeah, guys, and yeah, like I said, there's myself, the excited one on camera. So yeah, man, it's been a blast. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That is fucked up, bro.
That is fucked up.
Thank you guys.
I like how you gave yourself shout outs twice.
You had to, yeah.